The film opens up with the best slick person all time, Harry Houdini, standing on the edge of a scaffold, all attached with metal fastens and prepared to leap off. Behind the scenes, Houdini makes reference to that while others need to escape from their chaotic life. He is continuously attempting to get away from death, performing hazardous demonstrations. He then leaps off the extension, directly into the frozen lake, while a gigantic horde of individuals watches on with wonder. The film then, at that point, scales back to 17 years, where Houdini shows up at a whorehouse-like spot with his significant other, Bess Houdini, to perform and engage the crowd there. Notwithstanding, seeing the flimsy and wretched condition of the spot, Houdini adjusts his perspective and chooses to leave. Yet, Bess attests that they must choose between limited options, as cash is running out for them. She then declares to individuals there that Houdini will play out a demonstration in which he will escape from a shut trunk, while as yet being bound. While the greater part of individuals are entertained, one of them jeers that anybody can do it as the binds they brought are phony. In any case, Houdini, who continuously has a contingency plan, lets the crowd know that he will wear any bind that is given to him. Shockingly, the one who marked their presentation as phony ends up being a cop himself, and he tosses a genuine bind before them. From the get-go, Houdini gets apprehensive in view of the serious strain, yet when the cop puts the sleeves on his hands, he gets bothered up. He then leisurely dismisses and opens it utilizing a pin-like thing secret in his belt. This quickly dazzles the group, including the cop, and every one of them extol for him with deference. From that day onwards, Houdini became popular all through America by the title of the best slick person. He began playing out a few different shows, getting away from binds as well as from metal chains folded over his body. One evening, Bess makes reference to that she believes should accomplish something different other than performing shows. Yet, Houdini clarifies that he would rather not get back to a typical life. All things considered, he needs to be the best slick person in the world. With this, the scene streaks back to quite a few years sooner. At the point when Houdini and his sibling Doss are taking a gander at a movement bunch playing out an illusionary act. Houdini is so fascinated by the presentation that he in a flash began longing for turning into a entertainer and getting by out of it. Furthermore, with the days cruising by, he learns little deceives in brings in some cash from it. Houdini brings the cash home to his mom and satisfies her. Be that as it may, his dad isn't exactly partial to Houdini acting openly. Along these lines, he goes out with his sibling at an early age and concludes to accomplish something all alone. Together, the Houdini siblings begin to perform in the city and gather cash to help their mother. A couple of years pass by and at some point, while performing in the city, Houdini sees his future accomplice, Bess, moving for a presentation bunch. He furtively watches her perform and rapidly succumbs to her magnificence and style. After the demonstration, he moves toward Bess and inquires as to whether she would like to work with him, to which she acknowledges. From that day onwards, the two get along well indeed and go all over the planet, performing enchantment stunts for eminent individuals. Houdini's sibling, Doss, who is still in the States, attempts to duplicate his stunts to remain applicable. Be that as it may, Houdini doesn't like this and chooses to perform considerably more hazardous stunts which nobody could actually set out to imitate. The scene then, at that point, movements to 1896 where Houdini and Bess visit a well-known jail and ask the head sheriff to secure him. Expectedly, the sheriff denies, referencing that they can secure hoodlums. However, when Houdini begins ridiculing their jail quality and wagers $100 for the purpose, he gets maddened and consents to make it happen. Here, we get to realize that Houdini believes should do this trick as it would acquire a ton of exposure, even without paying the papers. In the interim, the sheriff secures Houdini pretty well, and Bess gives him a kiss prior to leaving. The sheriff suspects that she has moved something into his mouth, however when he checks, he don't tracks down anything. After there's no sign of danger, Houdini takes out a metal key opener that he had gulped later, kissing Bess, and utilizes it to get away from the jail. Subsequently, the media goes into a furor. What's more, Houdini becomes popular short-term, the fans even beginning prescribing him to get away from greater and safer jails. Houdini acknowledges one of these demands. What's more, shows up in Chicago, Illinois in the year 1900 to play out a stunt. This time, he is wrapped with metal chains everything over his body and, surprisingly, his mouth is covered with a lash. Thinking that Bess passed him the key before, while kissing. Nonetheless, to the jail gatekeepers' alarm, solely after 5 minutes of being secured, Houdini escapes from the jail without abandoning any hint of himself. After his various jail getaway, Houdini becomes popular all around the globe by the names the Bind Ruler, and the Breaker of the Chains. At some point, Houdini should be visible looking for prop things In a shop, he meets the proprietor, W, who appears to know him well overall and furthermore claims to have planned the vast majority of the things. In the shop, Houdini is truly dazzled by Jim's work, remembering the one for which the entertainer needs to get away from in the wake of hanging topsy-turvy inside a crate loaded up with water. Following a couple of days, Houdini and Bess visit Jim at his studio where he has made a model for the water compartment act. When he sees the case, Houdini jumps into the holder, with the guide of Jim's associates to check for how long he will actually want to stop his breathing submerge. He stunningly remains still for a couple of moments and signs to be let out. Be that as it may, sadly, when Jim and his group attempt to haul Houdini out, the rectangular box on top of the holder stalls out, appalling everybody around. Luckily, Jim has a hatchet lying around, which he uses to break the holder and set Houdini free. The scene then, at that point, diets forward to when Houdini is playing out the water compartment act live before a huge crowd. He additionally illuminates the crowd that in the event that regarding crisis, he has the top of the local group of firefighters' office holding a hatchet to tear open the compartment. Houdini then, at that point, begins playing out the demonstration, with his legs caught in the rectangular box. Jim is facilitating the show and he requests that the partners cover the holder. A couple of moments pass by, yet Houdini shows no development, so the group begins getting restless. Accordingly, the top of the Chicago local group of firefighters shows up there to break the compartment. Furthermore, when he turns around, he is uncovered to be, as a matter of fact, Houdini himself. The swarm thunders in shock, as they have never seen anything like this. With Houdini's prominence spreading all over the country, the head of the U.S. Secret Assistance starts researching him. They accept that Houdini is an unlawful settler who has been tricking individuals with futile demonstrations. However, luckily, before any road obstructions show up, Houdini is moved toward by V, the top of the English Mystery Administration, MI5. William alters Houdini's place of birth from Hungary to the U.S. Furthermore, consequently, requests privileged intel from the foes of the USA and the UK. Following up on the arrangement, Houdini heads to Germany and performs for the incomparable Kaiser family. He ultimately takes their breath away in the wake of playing out an almost unthinkable slug-getting wizardry stunt. Following this, Houdini meets with Riley, one of William's officials. What's more, furnishes him with some privileged data that he heard while being around the Kaisers. Riley is truly dazzled by his work and showers stores of commendations on him. He then leaves, yet not previously, giving Houdini a red book containing Russian punctuation, setting him up for the following mission. A couple of days after the fact, Houdini and his accomplice, Bess, should be visible performing for an esteemed and strong family in Moscow, Russia. To prevail upon them, Houdini shrewdly plays a game where he will satisfy their desires. He causes them to record their desires and lets the girl of the family pick one. It peruses, ring the Kremlin chime. Everybody giggles at the wish as the Kremlin has not been rung since north of 100 years. Be that as it may, Houdini, being Houdini, utilizes sorcery to make a little rope, which he allows the little kid to pull. Furthermore, when she does as such, the Kremlin ringer begins ringing, leaving everybody in unadulterated mistrust. They even bow their heads to offer their appreciation. The following day, Houdini meets William in London and furnishes him with data about what the Russians are doing. William acclaims his great work and furthermore requests about how he had the option to ring the Kremlin chime. Houdini uncovers that everything was set up. When the young lady picked a wish, he furtively exchanged it with the one he had previously arranged. What's more, each time the young lady pulled on the rope, his collaborator, Jim, who was watching from far off, shot the Kremlin chime with his marksman. Prior to leaving, William lets Houdini know that he now maintains that him should go visit the German diplomat and concentrate some valuable data from them. The scene then, at that point, movements to Germany, where Houdini is playing out another stunt in front of the crowd and the German envoy. Jim specifies that Houdini is locked inside the safe, in which he has just 10 minutes of breathing time. Nonetheless, in actuality, Houdini isn't in the safe. In any case, inside the representative's office, attempting to discover a few significant papers. Sadly, when he is nosing about the spot, the minister gets back to his office with a young lady, convincing Houdini to conceal inside the safe. Also, to exacerbate the situation, the minister sees the safe somewhat open, provoking him to appropriately lock it. Houdini, notwithstanding being a specialist in opening locks, begins feeling the tension as he has never been inside a genuine protected previously. In any case, with time expiring, he recollects that he is Harry Houdini, the best actor that the world has at any point seen. With this inspiration, he begins counting the quantity of locks present in the protected by recollecting the snaps he heard when the representative locked it. Also, with a couple of moments remaining, he effectively opens each and every keep and escapes the safe. Back on the stage, when Jim opens the protected, he finds it loaded up with a few 10-year commemoration gifts for Bess. In the meantime, Houdini gets together with William and gives him the reports previously, entering the stage and saying thanks to Bess for being his accomplice and enduring him throughout the previous 10 years. In any case, she could do without the phony signal. She defies Houdini after the show and expresses that he just thinks often about engaging the crowd and that's it. One thing prompts another. What's more, the two get into a contention, which brings about Houdini going through the night in the restroom, alone. At some point, Houdini and Jim are watching a video execution of Charlie Chaplin inside a theater. Houdini accepts that Charlie isn't doing anything exceptional, yet Jim lets him know that he is the new contest. Later around evening time, Houdini gets back and again contends with Bess. The last option urges Houdini to stop putting his life in danger, however he makes reference to that he appreciates putting individuals in disarray and arising out alive. As the two keep examining, Houdini sees a glass loaded up with ice and chooses to involve it in his next stunt. He then, at that point, races to the washroom. Furthermore, calls Jim to bring cans brimming with ice and empty them into the bath. After this, he lies inside the bath loaded up with ice, rehearsing for his next stunt. A couple of days after the fact, Houdini should be visible remaining on the edge of an extension with his hands bound by metal chains, prepared to hop inside a pool of frozen water. The scene is a similar one from the beginning of the film. After Houdini bounces, Bess gets scared and restless. However, to her, also, everybody's joy, Houdini figures out how to open his metal chains and bind submerged in, as it were, merely minutes. In any case, right when it appears to be that the exhibition is finished, Houdini is cleared away by the water momentum. He battles for some time, attempting to discover a way, until he dreams his mom there. Furthermore, with her assistance and direction, he securely escapes the frozen water. Seeing her significant other putting his life in extreme danger to the pieces each time he plays out his tricks, Bess again contends with him at home. From the get-go, Houdini moves furious and leaves, however later, he returns home and apologizes to her for overcompensating and furthermore consents to do just safe demonstrations from this point forward. Following this, during the following demonstration, Houdini doesn't put his life in danger and makes an elephant vanish in slender air, astonishing the crowd. After the presentation, he is moved toward by the English specialist from Pryor, Riley, who asks him to visit Europe and Washington to bring some restricted intel for them. Houdini attempts to decline the solicitation, yet Riley persuades him by saying that his fans will cherish a world visit. The scene then, at that point, movements to the Realm Theatre in 1914, where Sir Arthur, the essayist of Sherlock Holmes, is likewise among the crowd. As he watches with excitement, Houdini plays out a demonstration of strolling past a block facade, amazing everybody. After the presentation, Arthur approaches Houdini face to face and adulates him for his incredible demonstration. Sadly, when Arthur leaves, Jim meets Houdini and gives him a message letter. Houdini peruses the letter, which is from his sibling, illuminating him about their mom's demise. With the news, Houdini gets crushed and implodes on the floor. Bess races to him and conveys him on her lap. After Houdini quiets down a little, he demands Bess to prevent his sibling from covering his mom until he shows up for the memorial service. In the following scene, Houdini should be visible at his mom's burial service, where Jim asks in the event that he can get in touch with her utilizing his extraordinary power that he acted in one of his demonstrations previously. In any case, Houdini clears that the demonstration was only a stunt to engage the crowd and that he has no otherworldly capacity. After the misfortune, Houdini's persona totally changes. He begins getting more associated with motion pictures, however regular. He envisions reaching his mom utilizing heavenly powers. He has a go at reaching a few telepaths, who guarantee that they can contact the spirits of dead individuals. Nonetheless, every one of them turn out to be fake. Rankled, Houdini uncovered them and even composes a book about them in 1925 AD. At some point, Houdini again meets Sir Arthur and his significant other woman Doyle, the last option, who professes to be a visionary. Woman Doyle declares that she can make him contact his mom and gets ready for a individual sitting with him. Simultaneously, a spiritualist shows up there, and when Houdini requests that she tell his fortune, she peruses his palm and predicts that he will pass on soon. A while later, Houdini is with the Doyle couple, planning to bring his mom's soul Woman Doyle picks a pencil and composes something on a piece of paper. Apparently affected by Houdini's mom's soul. Following the method, Houdini becomes cheerful and expresses gratitude toward Woman Doyle for reaching his mom. Tragically, when Houdini looks at the texts composed by Woman Doyle, he views them as phony. He finds clear English writing in the text while his mom lacked the ability to express a word of the language. He additionally lets Jim know that it was his birthday that day and that his mom would never disregard it. With these verifications, he announces that Woman Doyle is phony and uncovered her in Sir Arthur by means of radio projects and paper interviews. He likewise proclaims that he will give $25,000 to the ones who can connect with his dead mother. In 1926, Houdini visits Boston, Massachusetts to meet a famous visionary, who calls herself Marjorie. He goes to one of her table meetings and uncovered her phoniness. Irritated, Marjorie visits Houdini in his lodging and attempts to tempt him, yet to no achievement. Thus, prior to leaving, she reminds Houdini that he will bite the dust soon, and from that point onward, they will possess his soul. Houdini's next show is planned for Detroit, Michigan, where he plays out the demonstration of getting away. A rectangular box loaded